On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, 4 games into this season already feels so much different than 4 games into last season. And we'll talk about why on a new episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Locked On Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli, flying solo once again while Zach is enjoying himself somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean. He will be back next week, but thank you for tuning in to this and making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. If you want to follow along, then join our subtext. Link is in the show notes below. Chat with Zach when he's here and myself one-on-one. Get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, and share it on this very podcast. All right. So that's what we're going to kind of do today is I know it's 4 games in, and I know that's not where we're going to, start anointing division winners and conference winners and who's in the Stanley Cup final, that stuff. But just starting the season on a much better note than you did last year. Really, in any sport, it just makes you feel good because you don't have to answer those questions. And there were a lot of them for the Avalanche going into this season, player wise, how is the power play going to be? There was just a lot of questions going into the season. And if you don't answer them, then of course you're just answering them really for the duration of the year. And people always go back to how teams start. In any sport, when a team starts just like red hot and then maybe they tail off at some point in the season and kind of level out, nobody really remembers that part of it or focuses on that part of it. They always remember the start and feel like they can capture that again. And that's not always true. And maybe that's the case here with the Avalanche. Like how they're starting right now is exactly what you want. In any team, you want to get off to a good start. You want to establish, where you are in the standings. Look what we always talk about what Winnipeg did last year. And they leveled out throughout the year, but they had such a good start. It just keeps you up at the standings and you don't have to fight for it like other teams do that do the opposite, that start off rough. And then at the end of the year, really pick it up. And now every point matters for them. And, they have to win, 5 out of the last 7 games or whatever it is to just get in the playoff spot. You put that stuff to bed when you start off good. And it's only 4 games. So we're not in the point of the start is so good that's going to carry them into the season. It's just, you got 4 games in and you feel so much better than 4 games in last year. Because if we have forgotten, which I know most of us have not, that start last year was bad. Just to refresh, and I hope I'm not bringing up old wounds for some people, but the opener against Vegas, you lost 8-4, and then you played Columbus and you lost 6-4, of which, by the way, that's your next game, and then you lost to the Islanders 6-2. And then you lost to the Bruins 3-5, 5-3, however you want to say it. Those last 3 games, you started on the road in Vegas. Those next 3 games were at home. So you lost those. That part I forgot. I remember the start was terrible, and you lost the 4 straight to start the year. But those next 3 games after Vegas were at home. Even the game after that was at home, which you finally got your first win against Anaheim, but it was in overtime. Compare that to now. And, although it hasn't been incredibly just dominant hockey, the funny thing is the one game you've lost so far was easily your best game by far from beginning to end. The other games have been good. They've been good games. Have they been that game, the Dallas game? No. But they've been good. And that part is also nice where you are, hey, you're 3-0-1. Have you played your best hockey in those 3 wins? No. Have you played hockey that I'm okay with at the beginning of the season? Yes. And the good thing about that is you are winning those games. You can say like those weren't our best. We had really good moments in all of those games. But from beginning to end, the game you lost was the Dallas game, and that was by far your best game. So what's different right now? I mean, we can break this down: offense, defense, special teams, and then individual players. Offensively, I don't think the Avalanche are really doing much different. Why would you? Your head coach is has been there for a decade. He has a system, and they go and get players that fit that system. Maybe that's the one thing that's different is the players, the new guys, the guys that are stepping up, they fit the system better. Like the Martin Necas, Victor Olofsson. You have Chris Drury stepping up into the 3C. So offensively, I don't think like the system and the scheme, that's not going to change. And Jared Bednar is actually going to revamp everything. It's not like Chris MacFarland goes out and gets players that are just good players and then tells Jared Bednar, figure out a system for it. No, they work together and say like, this is our system. Go out and find the players that fit the system. It's kind of not rocket science, but I don't know if a lot of other teams do it that way. I'm sure they do to an extent. It's the system and the players, and let's try to match those together. But I feel like the Avalanche have a method of that's the only guys we're going to go after. We're not going to go after guys that just, are a body that fill a roster spot. So I think, and offensively, let's see, you are 13 goals for, while 8 against. That's a +5 differential. That is number 1 in the Western Conference. That's tied with Dallas, actually, who has one less game. Dallas has scored 15 while giving up 10. And it's not that far off. Let's see. Well, Carolina is number 1 overall. In 3 games, they've scored 15 and given up 7. So that's a differential of 8. So you're scoring goals, and you're doing a good job of not letting in a lot. Again, the Dallas game was the one where you gave up the most. And in all you gave up 5 in that one, technically 4, and then 5 with the shootout. But the other games you're giving up 1. We'll get to the goaltending because that was a big reason for last year's start, right? So offensively, you're happy. You're liking what you see out of your staples. Nathan MacKinnon, obviously, Martin Necas, Cale Makar's already pitching in offensively, which you expect that. We will, to kind of end the episode, we'll kind of get into things that maybe you'd like to see start picking up. And there's a big glaring one, and that's on the second line. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But overall, you're pretty happy with the offense. Defensively, I brought up the goals against. The goaltending has been spectacular. That's been the biggest difference between last year and this year. Well, I should say last year, the first 2 months of the season, because we knew what we had with Georgiev, and they tried to make it work, clearly did not. And we all know what they brought in with Wedgwood, Blackwood, and really since those guys got there, this is how Wedgwood was playing last year. So I think defensively, again, the system and the scheme is going to be relatively the same. I mean, you did bring in Brent Burns, who, big body, been around forever. Seems like he could play in whatever system he needs to play in. And then you have Sam Malinsky, who I think is doing very well to start the year. You don't feel like the Avs are giving up these massive chances. That was a big thing last year. Was it all on Georgiev? No. The Avs were letting players just walk in and get high danger chances left and right on him. It was a combination of that and not having a goaltender that could bail out his defense. It's hockey, right? You're going to have moments where your defenders lapse and give an opponent a good chance at a goal. But you're seeing Wedgwood stopping those right now. So that's the biggest difference between the goaltending. But defensively, I'm not seeing as many of those chances get to Wedgwood. A lot of them are perimeter shots. When we talk about the games and I bring up the Hockey Viz stats and kind of where all those shots are, so many of them are on outside of the wings or all the way at the point or at the blue line. There's not a lot of stuff going on right in front of the net, save for the Dallas game. But overall, I think the defensive structure for the Avalanche has been very much improved. Very much improved. Let's get our first break in. When we come back, we'll talk about the special teams aspect and then kind of individual players on what's working for them and for the Avs. And then things that, like I said a few minutes ago, just you want to see all this good stuff that's happening. Maybe the things that are not yet pick up. And once that happens, then we can say like, hey, every game is like a Dallas game and we're winning those games too. So let's get our first break in and a lot more to come after this. Let's talk about Monarch Money because most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth and whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. And Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. It does all the heavy lifting, and you can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That's 50% off of your entire first year at monarchmoney.com with the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. Go check them out today. Special teams was a big thing going into this year, understandably so. Everything's been made of last year, what the Avs didn't do in the playoffs against Dallas on the power play. You bring in Dave Hackstall, and I think it's it's weird because it's got to be a combination of him and just kind of infusing fresh blood into it and the fresh blood of the players that are actually out there. Because we talked about it on a few episodes already of how much different this power play looks. And I think when we're 4 games into the season, I think the thing that you don't want to do too much is look too much at the numbers, as in particular for the power play and what the percentages are of successful power plays or what the success rate is of the penalty kill. Sure, like those numbers are important, but I think you need to really look at those, in another month or even 2 before you really know how the special teams is producing. Because is there a lot of goals going on in the special teams department? Not right now. Is that okay? Well, I guess, the easier answer to that is no, because you want goals, but how does it look? What's the eye test tell you? And if you don't watch that power play and see that the eye test is telling you this is a vastly different power play than what we've been used to really for the last 10 years in Colorado Avalanche world. Why? Because that's where Mikko Rantanen's been, and it's been successful. And there's nothing, I'm not saying now that you got rid of Mikko Rantanen and it's a different look power play, it's going to be so much better. No, the power play with the roster you had and the guys who were on the power play one did its job. Was a very good lethal power play. It fell off at the end of last year. Was that just because, you had your new guys and it's a system thing that they have to get used to the system? Could be. Could just be the other team shut you down. But for this, it's a different looking power play. And it is, there's too much talent on that power play one, even on the power play two, where it can't go forever without producing goals. And I feel bad a little bit for the power play too, because the power play one is just so stacked. They want those guys out there majority of the time. They're not splitting it 1 minute and 1 minute. They're splitting it 1 minute and 30 seconds to 30 seconds. So it's very difficult. You might not see a lot of goals from that power play too, unless it's like a double minor and they're getting more, or a major and they're getting more ice time out there. Or they just get one of those fluky goals where they do have 30 or 40 seconds and, they gain the zone, bam, 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 goal. most of these are probably going to come from power play one, which is the case for most power plays, but they just like having these guys out there because they are moving. Nathan MacKinnon is moving. Martin Necas, I feel like as a baby, was one of the baby that just could not sit still, and you never knew where he was. You think he's in one room, maybe like taking a nap, and you go in there and check on him, and he's gone. He just is constantly in motion. And that only helps his power play because that makes it difficult for defenders. Defenders just can't play their area, play their zone, and expect that guy to stand there. And when the puck cycles around to him, okay, I'm on him. He's moving. Everybody's moving. Cale Makar's always moving. Nathan MacKinnon, who really doesn't move a lot on the power play, has been. He's not just on that left-hand side. He's on the right-hand side. And then you have the guys in front that do the dirty work. It's just everything that you see, it's just too good to just stay stagnant in terms of not producing. So it'll come around. And when it does, it's going to be one of those games where they're 100%, where they're 3 for 3 on a power play. None of the 2 for 4, 50%, which is good, which all teams would take. But it's going to be like they're going to have a breakout game where it's 3 out of 3 or even 4 out of 4 or something like that, where they figured it out, it clicks, and then watch out. Penalty kill is what it is. It's been okay. It's been fine. They're seeing a little bit more pressure, especially at the point, which is nice. You're not so much letting teams just walk into the zone again, which is what the Avalanche have been doing for years, just letting them gain the zone. And you gain the zone, we'll get set up on defense, and then let's just do best on best and see who wins. Avalanche are pressuring the blue line, and even to an extent, sometimes in the neutral zone. And while you're not going to get those pucks all the time, it just disrupts what the offense is trying to do. And it just kills a few more seconds. And that's what's the key with penalty kills are the seconds need to tick off and wind down. And if you can make it difficult for them just to do anything, just to set up even for an extra 3 or 4 seconds, that's huge to get that 2 minutes done. So overall, I think special teams has been fine. It hasn't been the Achilles heel on either end, which is good. Good so far. Kind of diving into like individual players, you have to start with the really the dynamic duo. I'm sure in time we'll get a nickname for these two, for MacKinnon and Martin Necas. I kind of was just gloating about them on the last episode, so I don't want to do that too much because I don't want to be known as that guy, but it's just exciting. It's like that's your must-watch TV right now is when an Avalanche game, when you turn on an Avalanche game, there's always moments and players that you just turn it on for. It's always going to be Cale Makar. It's always going to be Nathan MacKinnon. And now it's what is the duo of MacKinnon and Necas going to do? You've seen them just like weaving in and out, just knowing where each other is going to be. And when they get to that level, even at a better level, really where MacKinnon and Mikko were, once, Nate and they're already seem like they're really good at knowing where each one's going to be. And that's with only, a handful of games under their belt, man, just with each game that goes on and they just know where the other one's going to be. And, really what Mikko was doing, it's going to be dangerous. It's going to be really, really, it already is. You're already seeing it. It already is. So those two guys have been fantastic. With the younger guys like Gavin Brindley, I gotta say, like I loved Gavin Brindley in his draft year, and I talked about it when they traded for him. I went back and looked at my notes for that draft, and I had him as the third guy that I wanted the Avalanche to take. He was like on my board, my draft board, which nobody sees but me. He was number 3 on it. I really liked him, and he's a Michigan guy. So I really liked him coming out of college and in the draft. But I think it's a combination of the Avs don't really throw guys like him up too early. So I think that was just in the back of my mind. So I wasn't really thinking he was going to get, I knew he'd get an opportunity in preseason, but kind of just going off how the Avalanche have operated, even if a guy at his age and, only a year or two into his career, any guy like that, they, even if he has a good preseason, they usually just send him down just to, hey, just keep learning. Your time will come. But it's just not right now. And that changed. He played so well in the preseason. He kind of forced the hand of the Avalanche to say, I dare you to send me down. They didn't. He hasn't been getting a ton of time, but it's one of those things when you are getting minimal minutes, and you're making the most of them, and it feels like you're out there for longer than you are. Like you look at the box score and he has like 7 minutes of ice time. You're like, man, I could have sworn he was out there for 13, 14 minutes because he's making every second count. He's already got the goal, so he's got that off his back. He's playing well. So I was of the mind that they'd send him down to get more minutes down there. The Avalanche are like, let's change this a little bit. He's going to be on the fourth line, but 10 minutes or less in the NHL, maybe that's 15 to 20 minutes down in the AHL. So let's get him some games here, and let him get the lay of the land at this level. And he's answered the bell. He's been great. He's been fun to watch. We've said it, like he's an energy guy. So it's nice to have another energy line and not just relying on Nathan MacKinnon to come out and ignite a spark. Brindley can do that on both ends of the ice, offensively and defensively. So he's been good. And Bardakov is the other one. Like we were kind of just penciling in Bardakov as the fourth line guy because everything you were hearing out of camp was how much Bednar loved him, and he had a really good preseason too. And he made the roster, so he's there. So they can swap him in and out right now. And I'm interested to see if when they do, when do you give him just a start? Because you don't want him sitting on the sidelines for too long. So it might be soon where Bardakov gets a shot here. But you had those two guys, Brindley and Bardakov, where I don't think many people before a preseason second was even played thought that they would be making the team this year. Maybe Brindley just because of his name and where he was drafted. But as it went on, both of them started producing. Victor Olofsson's another one who is kind of, he's been around the league for, a number of years. So it's a different situation for him. But he's one of those guys that's in a situation where, like, if he's not producing, then how Brindley's been playing, you move Brindley up, or if Bardakov had been playing and been playing well, you could move him up potentially. Like Olofsson was that guy who is kind of like, if he came in on the deal and was just kind of like there and just a body, they might make some moves that they didn't necessarily plan on doing, but other guys are playing so well, they have that luxury. But he's made it difficult for the Avalanche as well. He's been playing fantastic. And, I think you're starting to see him. You might start seeing him a little bit more on power play one because he has that ability. That's another thing that they can do with all these guys is move them in and out, not only on the lines, but on the power play. So I think, Olofsson is making it, while we're saying like Brindley's made it difficult for the Avalanche. Hey, I dare you to move me down. Olofsson's doing the same thing of like, you can't move me. This third line is working well. What do you can't move me anywhere. Third line's working well. I'm doing well. Like throw him some power play minutes. It's looked good. He's looked good. So has Chris Drury. That was a big question mark of, is he ready to take the 3C over? All this started, he's 4C and that's his role. If you were a hockey player and you knew you were like the fourth line guy, would you be happy with that? Or would you say like, well, I'm going to put in a little bit more here and make them see that I'm capable of playing something more than fourth line? You're not just going to accept fourth line minutes. And I think what Chris Drury is, he was ready for the next step. The Avalanche were willing to give it to him. And I think he's been fine. I think he's been very good, actually. So that's working out. All of the moves right now are working out for the Avalanche. It's different. It's very different because we're kind of used to, I want to say, no, we are. We're kind of used to like these depth moves. What's been going on for the Avalanche for the last number of years is your stars are your stars, and there's a revolving door of everything below that. And that's true for so many teams. But it seems like the Avalanche, it's been really hit or miss the past couple of years with those guys. But for right now, so much seems to be working for them. Yes, we're 4 games in. I get it. But it just gives you a good look. It gives you a good vibe. Makes you feel good about what this team can accomplish because you're winning with all of these factors, not at 100%. You're getting there. That's the scary part. You're getting there. So you're winning and you're sucking away points while you're still figuring some things out, but you can see the writing on the wall of how good this team really could be. That doesn't mean it's all perfect. So let's get our last break in. And after that, some things that you want to see catch up to the good things that the Avalanche have been doing. So we'll do that next. Let's hear from FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss because right now new customers can bet just $5 and get that $300 in bonus bets if you win. Yes, it's still $300 in bonus bets. So pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com right now to download the app today and get started with that $5 bet. And if it wins, $300 in bonus bets goes into your account immediately. So while we're feeling awesome about the first 4 games into the season, you're always going to have things that you feel like need to improve. Oddly enough, it's the second line. And again, it's not like the second line is playing bad. I think when they're out there, they're doing what they need to do. And how we're saying with the power play needs to kind of just produce goals. That needs to happen with this second line. They need to get going and getting some pucks in the net. Because right now, Brock Nelson has a singular point and it's an assist. Val Nichushkin has a singular point and it's an assist. Gabe Landeskog has no points. So that's 2 points on your second line, both assists. And that's saying something when, how well Val Nichushkin has been playing. He's been absolutely everywhere. He seems like he is determined to make a name for himself this year outside of the walls of the Colorado Avalanche. So he's been everywhere. His forechecking has always been one of the best things about his game. It just seems to have stepped up another level this year. His forechecking has been fantastic. So he's been kind of surprised to see that he's only had 1 goal. It's just, again, it's one of those eye test things of, hey, like, man, he's absolutely everywhere. You just assume he's got some more points. I know those 2 things don't always like connect, but you just feel like he would have more points than he does. The same thing with Brock Nelson. I feel like Nelson's been good. I don't know if typically like he's a slow start. I'm not saying he's off to a slow start. In points he is, but I think this second line is overall going to be fine. And this is where you have like the back and forth between 4 games in, and there's all these things that we want to say like we're so good at, and at the same time you're saying like, it's only 4 games in. But the same is true for what we're talking about right here in that second line. Like, I completely think they're going to be fine, and they're playing well. It's just how the power play, you want to start seeing those end results in goals and points. It's the same for line 2. So I am interested to see, though, with how well Nichushkin has been playing, do they move him up? Do you give him some time at that top line? It wouldn't be a bad idea to just throw on the Blendar for a game or even a period if you wanted to do that. He's done that as well. So, and it's almost like a reward thing for him with how well he's playing and skating and forechecking. Man, he forechecks like that to give the puck back to guys like MacKinnon and Necas right now. That only benefits everybody. So I think that's the number one thing right now that I would say, hey, I want to see that. That's the next thing that needs to like pick it up a little bit is the scoring from the second line. They're not a liability out there. They're not defending poorly. It's just the results haven't got there yet. They will. They will. So we'll see. And the other part of it is like injuries, knock on wood. There hasn't been a ton so far this year for the Avs. And I think the main one that's coming back likely this weekend is Mackenzie Blackwood. We're getting this great play from Scott Wedgwood, your backup. He's your backup. I know there's some people out there that think like, oh, we should make him the number one starter. Like that. No, like, first of all, no, like he's been a career backup more or less, but backups can play well. He's playing well. And there's been times where backups, you ride that hot hand and they play more than the starter. But this is not something where you flip it around and be like, oh yeah, now Scott Wedgwood is our number one guy. No, it's a tandem and you feel good anytime he's in the net. And you're winning these games, you're playing this well with him in net. And you have to be excited that, our number one guy who looked great last year for us when they brought him over in Mackenzie Blackwood hasn't even played a game yet. So getting back to that, having a duo in net is right there for the Avalanche. So you have Mackenzie Blackwood hasn't played a second yet, should be back soon. You're still waiting on Logan O'Connor. He's maybe a month or so away before he comes back. And then Sam Girard, who is out for what Jared Bednar said is a while. They have him listed as week to week. But when it's followed up by he's going to miss some time, you feel like that's whatever, the week. I think, was it Miles Wood? I think last year was month to month, which you don't see the month to month very often. So I don't think they didn't go that route for Girard. But when you follow it up with he's going to miss some time, you almost feel like it's going to be month to month for Sam Girard. And is that going to give an opportunity to some other guys on the defensive end? And if the Avalanche are playing well, we say this every year, it seems like, with Sammy G. What does that spell for Sam Girard? I think this injury for him could be the worst thing possible. Because if the Avalanche are winning games, not giving up goals, playing sound defensively, that $5 million is pretty appealing to have on your books. So that might be something to watch. But the other two guys with Blackwood coming back, that's only a positive. Logan O'Connor, whenever he comes back, clearly that's a positive. How these lines will look when Logan O'Connor comes back is going to be the interesting thing. Logan O'Connor's not in danger of being traded, like I just kind of laid out with Sam Girard, but it does present an issue if all this continues to go well for the Avalanche. And you have these guys, you have Gavin Brindley playing well. If Bardakov gets in there and he's playing well, Olofsson continues to play well. Logan O'Connor needs a spot. And I almost don't care where it is because he just makes the team better. How can you not feel good about where the start of this team and the potential solid year that this team could have? I'm not going like President's Trophy or anything like that, but because I don't think they care about that too much. Their focus is game to game, having a solid season, playoffs, and then that's when things need to kick into gear. We can talk for 33 minutes now about the good thing that's going on with this Avalanche start. None of it matters. None of it if you don't make some waves in the playoffs. So it's just a long 6 months, however it is, that we'll enjoy, but everybody's eye is on round one. We'll see where it goes. All right, 4 games in, and we're excited. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. I'll get to record. I have an event to go to, so I might not get one in right after the game, after the Blue Jackets game tomorrow. But we'll get it in. We'll talk, and it's been a fun week. I'll tell you that. So I appreciate everybody with the support and tuning in. It's very much appreciated. So, all right, we'll see everybody down the road. And yeah, follow along on our social medias and on our subtext. Make sure you join that. And of course, whenever we see you, you will have made it through. I can't even say it anymore. 24 hours. We're Sidney Crosby is that much closer to being with the Colorado Avalanche.